news this hour to drastically change the recruitment procedure for Indian Armed Forces, the Army, Navy and Air Force. The government announced the Agnipath Scheme, which is the brainchild of former CDS General Bipin Rawat. Now, this is a scheme which is a recruitment plan for armed forces, and youth between the age of 17.5 years to those age 21 are eligible, and this for a period of 4 years. Under this scheme, soldiers will be recruited for 4 years and will then be given a Seva Nidhi package upon completion of those terms. According to the government, only 25% of soldiers, the best professionals, will be reinducted as permanent ones. Soldiers recruited under the new model will be called Agnivits. They will form a distinct rank in the three services and will also wear a distinct insignia as part of their uniform. Let me tell you, women will also be inducted under this Agnipath scheme, where they will be paid a monthly salary between 30,000 to 40,000 plus allowances.
भारतीय सेनाओं को विश्व की बेहतरीन सेना बनाने के लिए उस दृष्टि से आज कैबिनेट कमेटी ऑन सिक्योरिटी ने भी एक ऐतिहासिक फैसला किया है। आज का अग्निपथ नामक एक ट्रांसफॉर्मेटिव योजना हम ला रहे हैं, जो हमारी आर्म्ड फोर्सेस में ट्रांसफॉर्मेटिव चेंजेज लाकर उन्हें फुली मॉडर्न और वेल इक्विप्ड बनाएगी। अग्निपथ योजना में भारतीय नौजवानों को बतौर अग्निवीर आर्म्ड फोर्सेस में सेवा का अवसर प्रदान किया जाएगा।
All right, for more on this, I'm joined by two very special guests on the broadcast. Colonel S. Dinny, who's a defense analyst, and I'm also joined by Colonel Utkarsh Singh Rathore, who's a defense expert on the broadcast. Thank you so much, dear guests, for making time and speaking to Mirror now on this very, very important issue. I would like to start with Colonel S. Dinny. Sir, what is your view on this development? Because this is a recruitment drive which was on the anvil. There were a lot of people talking about it. It was the brainchild of General Rawat, and finally it has been announced. How do you view this development? Will it be a game changer?
Yes, to start off, I do believe that this is a transformational decision, having a huge impact on the way the Indian Armed Forces would look in the future, would fight in the future. There's no doubt in my mind that this is a transformational decision which has been taken. Having said that, I also do understand that there are concerns which many of the veterans have raised and which are genuine concerns in the best interest of the organization. However, my only suggestion or my submission is that since the way the warfare has changed, the way the technology has changed, the way the equipment profile has changed, similar changes has not happened in the Indian Armed Forces as far as the human resource management is concerned. We are more or less following the same system what the Britishers left with us. It is a time-tested, yes, it is a time-tested. It has proved its worth. But are we, in the current scenario, is that enough? Is my question. And in that, this particular scheme is an out-of-box thinking. And definitely, it will at least give those opportunities for many of the issues within the armed forces. Because of manpower and because of these human resources, those issues are likely to be resolved. And I can just name a few, like today's the point which were highlighted during the briefing itself, that the average age today is about 32 years as far as the Indian Army is concerned. So that age profile is higher, on the higher side. Any army would like to have a younger profile. By bringing in these young boys, I think what is going to happen is that in the next 6 to 7 years, the age profile is likely to come to about 25 to 26 years. And we all know that to have a younger and fitter army is the best thing to happen. And secondly, although the defense minister said there is adequate resources for the armed forces, but we all know that defense pension is a huge drain on the defense budget. So once you, if you are able to divert that money for modernization and capital expenditure, I'm sure the army would, or the armed forces would be that much more modernized. And of course, the Indian Army or the Indian Armed Forces is not a standalone organization in India. It is part of the system. It is part of the government. It is part of our nation. So everything what we do has a bearing on the society and on others. So if this system or this particular scheme does offer benefits to the youth also. We know that today's youth, about 17.5 to 21 years, when they will be inducted into the into this particular scheme, this is the most vulnerable age group. Today we see a huge number of people who are addicted to drugs and such like things and all. So if we can divert at least a part of those people into the army and select the best of the best out of that as the 25% and continue service, I think that will be a huge thing for the society also. And now also these youth after 4 years, when they have about 10 to 12 lakhs of rupees, they can either study or they can start their business. They can go, they can do. There are multiple things which they can do. So overall, I find a lot of positives in it. Of course, there are many challenges. And as I mentioned before, these challenges will be addressed in the most professional manner as the armed forces do.
Right. Colonel Utkarsh Rathore, while there are voices that vehemently support this move because there are a lot of reasons, whether it's the budget, whether it's the finances, but equally there are some voices that oppose this move because our army has never undertaken such a challenge, such an experiment. What do you think about this move and what are the possible drawbacks?
Archana, let's get on to the few basics first. First thing is the armed forces are the sword arm of a nation. They are not made for experimenting, one. Another thing is the armed forces are not the corporate houses which produce you a balance sheet every year and show profits. Armed forces, by their mere presence, make an environment for the industry, society to prosper and grow. This is one thing. So stop asking armed forces why you are having so much money on pensions or pay. Armed forces, if they have been raised, they have to be sustained with grace. The Agnipath scheme involves tearing away the cohesion of army. It is the scheme which envisages 50% of the armed forces human resource becoming ad hoc. This is not something which can be implemented out of box. I fail to understand by getting people on ad hoc basis how we become more tech-savvy army. The rules of the engagement, rules of the recruitment are the same. Same human resource would come. The only thing, after training them for 4 years, we would be losing them. While on 4 years, may I tell you that 1.5 years would be in their training and leave. All that he has got to serve with me is for 2.5 years. How it is beneficial, I have not understood. The nation policy makers must understand the aim and purpose of having armed forces. Armed forces have always been heckled that you take too much of budget, but that is imperative. If India is having two front threats and 2.5 front, including the internal threats, you have to pay. The threat perception in India has not changed. We still need boots on ground. We still need manpower intensive army. May I remind you, when we were toying with the idea of dispensing the Pioneer Corps and the animal transport companies, Kargil happened. And these two things came handy. We all realized it was a folly. So, if it was such a earth-shattering policy, first thing, it should have been launched as a pilot. Second thing, the environment should have been taken into confidence. Third, it was launched at a small scale. Why are you also aiming at diluting the regimentation with this policy? You know that there are fixed class compositions of the regiments and battalions in this army who get the people from the particular class and compositions. All recruitments in Agnipath would be on all India, all caste basis. So you would be sending the same manpower. Have you taken the regiments and battalions into the confidence that we are doing away with the regimentation? Who has given this permission? And second thing is the army, the India has such a huge talent in the form of retired officers and retired people. I mean, army doesn't want to talk to them. They would have been talked to that this is the kind of thing. This is not involving one battalion or one regiment. It is involving entire army. 14 lakh people. If it is involved, I think at least 6 lakh people become ad hoc.
Right.
How it is going to happen? It is going to affect the cohesion. It is going to have serious problems at junior leadership level. And for that, I don't think anybody has fathomed it. I don't think anybody has taken the feedback from the grassroots level. That how the press release itself says it is going to be a separate rank known as Agniveer.
Right.
This is something we should have given a better thought rather than throwing a spanner in a fine-tuned armed forces engine.
Absolutely. Colonel Dinny, these are some very strong reservations to the Agnipath scheme, and other veterans have also expressed their concerns. And if I may quote one of them, they said, we might be producing an Abhimanyu, but he will not get out of the Chakravyuh. After 4 years of duty, Arjuns will not be available in our next Mahabharata. How do you see these concerns? Because a lot of veterans, and as Colonel Rathore also pointed out, that you cannot look at the army from the prism of economics and finances.
Yeah, I mean, at the outset, let me, say that I completely understand the sentiments of people like Colonel Rathore, who in the best interest of the organization have raised some some very valid questions. But however, what I feel is that, let's talk of each point one by one. Today, as a commanding officer, what I have faced the most is the lack of manpower. In any of, let's say, for example, the basic unit is a company or a battalion. Let's say a battalion, if it is about 800 person, I'm talking of an infantry battalion, almost 200 to 300 people are not available on ground because of various reasons. Because either there is low medical categories, people are on leave, people are on TD and such like things. And the major people who are not available are the people who are of the lowest rank. That is the Sipahi rank. These are the people who are not available. You don't find anybody, any person who served. We know that the moment a new recruit comes, he is looked upon with so much of enthusiasm that here comes somebody is there, some additional hand has come so that manpower is increased. So with this thing, you will find additional manpower on ground. So that is the biggest change. And any battalion commander will say that additional about 80 to 100 people getting, even if he's 6 months trained, 8 months trained, it is a huge bonus. There is no doubt in that. Now, second thing is about regimentation. When I myself come from a Rajput regiment, I commanded a Rajput battalion. And I had also had the good fortune of going for attachment into a mechanized infantry unit, which was once an erstwhile Rajput unit, but then it became into an all India, all caste or all composition kind of a unit. And let me tell you, that unit also performed exceedingly well. So there was nothing wrong in it. Let me give you another example. Today, the special forces, the best of the best in the Indian army. They are an all India, all caste composition. They are not a pure breed. They are the best and best of the best. So regimentation, according to me, means camaraderie. The will and the training together and fighting together for a cause is what I see it as regimentation. Of course, the time tested, I don't deny that there are advantages of having a pure caste and, those things are there. But I feel in the current scenario, in 2022, we should not be looking at 1947. I think we should move ahead and in the sense that what the chief also mentioned, that about 75% of the Indian Army is already all India, all caste composition. It is only the 25% which is left, and mostly in infantry battalions like Rajput regiments and such like things. There are few, which are left with. They can also be overcome over time. As I mentioned, regimentation is fighting together for a cause. The camaraderie, the bonding, which is more important. So if in an all India cause it can happen here also. Third most important thing, once again, we have to understand, is that this thing of, being these youngsters who are coming in, we have to, give it to our Indian youth. They are motivated. People are saying that they will be tourists and they will not fight for a cause, or there is no pension. I'm sure Colonel Rathore also would agree with me that the motivation level is inversely proportional to the service level. As a person grows in service, his motivation level comes down. So a person who is there for 4 to 5 years, and let's trust our Indian youths, let's trust our people who are from villages, they want to serve the country, they want to serve the army. So I think they will do a fantastic job. It's only a question of good leadership. So that is where the entire thing comes to.
Right. Colonel Rathore, final thoughts on this?
See, the thing is, my first point was, don't compare armed forces with corporate houses. We are pushed to a guilt consciousness, our generals, military leadership, that you are consuming a whole lot of budget on pension and pay. If you have army, you better pay them, you better equip them, you better train them. That is one thing. Another thing, this involves a large-scale change in the armed forces. It cannot be implemented out of box. It should have been taken as a pilot. That is one thing. The second thing is that the point of availability of manpower, may I remind that this availability of manpower is from the same manpower, that the employment of the manpower would differ. Otherwise, the Agniveers are not the increment on the available manpower. This is one more thing. I was doing a quick calculation how much an Agniveer will take home. It is 25 lakh rupees an Agniveer will take home. After 4 years, another Agniveer will come, and for 4 years itself takes 25 lakhs. It does not include the kitting, it does not include the training, it doesn't include the firing and those weapons and other thing, rations. But it is, I'm telling you, case of penny wise pound foolish. If a person lives and serves for 15 years full color service. Last rejoinder, I would say, in armed forces, these services there are medals for services. There is a first medal which recognizes your service is 9 year service medal. It has been made with some great wisdom in mind that after 9 years, a soldier or an officer gets some experience to serve in army or navy or air force. There is no medal for 4 years. This should be always borne in mind. It has been implemented with haste, and it may have serious repercussions. For India, the armed forces are a must. We are a nation which has multifarious threats. I need not remind you that there is LOC, there is the LAC, and on both these borders, there are active armies deployed against us. It is no time for experimentation. As far as the lowering of the age is concerned, there are other ways of doing it. The age has gone up because we wanted them to serve more. What would happen to these Agniveers when they are discharged on the civil street? Who would employ them? How easy it is in India to start a second career? Has anybody given a thought? Has anybody given an assurance? There is no assurance from corporate sector, not even from the government departments. They would not be taken, and after 4 years would find them moving about aimlessly and doing all sort of wrong things which an army personnel or air force personnel shouldn't have been doing.
Okay, all right. All right, thank you so much, Colonel Rathore and Colonel Dinny, for your valuable time and helping us understand the two contradictory voices on this very important, very significant move, which is going to have consequences. This is how our armed forces will take shape now. The recruitment will take shape now. Both voices have been heard, but the big news is that the government has opened a path for the youth to enter the armed forces, the Army, Navy and the Air Force as soldiers for 4 years. We'll have to wait and watch whether this is going to be a game changer or a radical experiment.